You ever sat in a cell for a month straight, not knowing if your family's alive or if you'll make it out on the other side, the same person that you came in? So according to the latest U.S. Census, Black Americans make up 14% of the U.S. population and 32% of the prison population. And unfortunately, I was one of those prisoners. Let me show you how we live. You think you know what prison is from movies or from TikTok videos, but you don't know what prison is until you've directly lived it yourself. Every day waking up in prison is like waking up in a never-ending nightmare. Waking up there, it's like, so you spend your time in between recs. That's basically how you do your bid, because the majority of your bid in the max, even if you're not on the supermax side, majority of your time is gonna be spent confined in your 12 by 12 cell. You know, the years are broken down damn near into rec periods. Wake up, if you're on the south side, morning rec, the doors pop for first rec. It's split tier rec, so it's high side, low side. Both tiers never rec at the same time, because you know the staff like to keep as much control as possible in the max. They don't let both tiers rec together at any time. It's always high side and low side. So high side to come out for rec, they'll lock in, and then the low side to come out for rec, and it's just straight like that. You know, they never let both sides out for rec simultaneously. When I was up there, most of your time you spend in your cell, even though you may think those rec periods are short, because they really are, even if like it's on the south side, it's an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, and an hour at night. For last rec, a lot goes down in those hours. People get stabbed in those hours, you know, get brutally assaulted in those hours. Even though the majority of your time is in the confines of a cell, you know, a lot happens in those hour rec periods. You know, you spend the majority of your time just in between recs. And sometimes you don't even get rec because they do modified rec. So basically, that'll be a day where the whole prison is just locked down, either because they're short staffed or whatever's going on that day, you'll just not get rec. And so we'll just be on lockdown. And never mind, we're constantly locked down for, you know, the violence that takes place in the prison or whatever the case may be, or if it's shakedowns, or so we constantly get locked down anyway. You also add in modified rec periods, which is, you know, some days we just won't get rec just for the sake of not getting rec. I wish we could get because there's an intercom in the max, and it's just constantly throughout the day you just hear base hall units, we have an emergency. And sometimes you'll wake up first thing in the morning and you hear base hall units, we have an emergency. You're like, damn, niggas gang banging on breakfast. One of the first things you hear is a sliding door, because the COs, they control the doors. You can't open and shut your cell. They slide back and forth, but they're like 1,500-pound doors. They're like the heavy sliding doors. You just hear I remember it clearly in my mind, because you get used to that sound, because it's like the bell in your brain for rec time. They don't tell you like, oh, 10 minutes to rec, 20 minutes to rec. It's just the door just boom, boom, and it opens. And they all do it. All the doors on a tier open like simultaneously, so at the same time. So it's just, you just hear the sound kind of like reverberate through your cell. It's the same when the door closes. You could be my neighbor if I want to talk to you. I gotta shout underneath the door or in the cranny, because the doors are damn near soundproof. So I either gotta talk to you, or if you're my neighbor, I'm gonna talk to you through my vent. Or if you're upstairs from me, I can talk to you through my toilet. But if you're like across the tier, I'm gonna have to talk, like shout underneath, a shout like there's like a technique to it, because you gotta really talk in a small crack between the door and so I could actually get my voice across to you. So I gotta shout, kind of like a technique to it. But the doors are like really insulated, but really what you hear on a unit is you hear guys shouting back and forth, or you hear like a whistling of kites getting passed between cells. So I got a crazy story about the chow hall in the max, because when I first got up there, so the way they did the max was, you know, they did gang blocks. I was on K2, we used to go to chow with J2. So it used to be, you know, J2, K2, and it used to be just us. So every housing unit would go to chow with one other housing unit. So it'd be like P2, N2, or N1, P1, they would chow together. And anyway, in the max, there's no more chow hall. They ended up getting rid of the chow hall. They got rid of it probably 2018 or 2019, because it was just too much shit going down in the chow hall. Too many people getting stabbed, too many people. And it's crazy because you gotta go through a metal detector and get searched before you go to the chow hall. So the COs pat you down, and then you go through to a metal detector before you go to the chow hall. But the thing is, dudes would make knives out of plastic and bring to the chow hall. Because you can make a knife out of a plastic water bottle. You take enough heat to it, you melt it down, and you get it down to a point. You make a knife out of anything. So guys will make knives out of plastic, and they don't go off in the metal detectors. So guys would take plastic knives to the chow hall. To go to the chow hall with the yellow books on for vests. Chow hall was like the war zone. They shut it down while I was up there 2018. As of today, there's still no chow hall in Sousa Baranowski. Now they turned it into kind of like a clinic. So there's no chow hall now. Everybody, all the blocks eat in. You eat in yourself. They bring you your food to yourself. They stopped trying to do the chow hall thing because literally for a month straight, every time the prison would get shut down, it would be because of a chow hall incident. Somebody would get stabbed, or to be a one-on-one to turn into a 50-man brawl because there's so many people out in the chow hall. And you, like the max, the main thing about the max, the reason Sousa Baranowski exists is control. It's the 3 C's: care, custody, control. That's what they operate by. So really with the control part is they limit the amount of inmates out at one time. That's why it's split tier rec. That's why it's only a certain amount of inmates allowed at one time in the max out to be at rec in the same period. So the chow hall was kind of defeating the purpose for them because they would have to let 2 whole units out, not 2 whole tiers, 2 whole units out at one time to go into the chow hall for 30 minutes a day. And they would have a whole bunch of staff. They would already have the CERT team ready and CERT gear, just waiting in the chow hall, just waiting for shit to pop off. They got tired of even doing the chow hall thing because they're like, you know what I'm saying? I guess it was, I don't know what the administrative decision was behind shutting it down, but there was a really big incident that transpired on the north side. The north side was actually going to the chow hall. It was P2, N2. They went to the chow hall and the Bloods had gotten into it. It was kind of like an internal beef. It was 2 different sets of the Bloods that was in there, and it turned into like an 80-man brawl. And it was at dinner time too, so it was the evening chow. The staff, they were already understaffed, so the box was already full, so they ended up having to get transport to actually ship dudes out of the prison because they didn't have enough space in the hole, so they had to ship dudes to Concord, to Norfolk, and that was the last time they ever did chow hall in the max again. After that, they shut it down. No more chow hall after that because it turned up being like a logistical disaster for them because they was already short-staffed. They had an 80-man brawl that they could barely control, and then they ended up having to ship dudes out of prison in the middle of the night because it was just too much of a mess for them, and they didn't have space to house dudes in a box. So they basically had to send cats out of the prison in the middle of the night, and they were doing it all night long until like 3, 4 in the morning. So that was all she wrote for the chow hall after that. From that point on, all the way up until my release, we just ate in our cells. There was no more chow hall. So the chow hall, I used to enjoy going to the chow hall because, you know, it was first thing in the morning, especially breakfast. You know, you get that little stroll. It's like something because you hardly ever leave the unit in the max. Like in the max, once you're assigned to a housing unit, that's where you're gonna spend the majority of your time. So if you get a 10-year bid and they assign you to, say, K2, you're gonna be there unless you go to DDU, which is, you know, a whole different topic for a whole different video. You're gonna spend the majority of your 10 years on that housing unit or whatever amount of time you're doing. That's where you're gonna be living for the majority of your bid. So, you know, the chow hall was like change of scenery you could kind of count on every day. But after you lose the chow hall, we really had nothing else after that. You know what I'm saying? Because there's really no movement in the max like that. So after they shut down the chow hall, that's really it. It's very limited movement. You're not really going nowhere else. So especially if you're on the north side, you're just, the only movement you're getting is like an hour out your cell every day if you're lucky. So the food in the max is horrible. It's crazy because there's a saying in the state prison system in Massachusetts anyway. So Concord, Norfolk, they got like the best food. You damn near get like food somewhat comparable to what you would eat in the real world. Like they got chicken on a bone, stuff like that. Stuff like mashed potatoes, gravy, shit like that. The max, oh yeah, the max, the food, I don't know if that's just a part of the disciplinary procedure of being in the max, or that's just a part of their program, but the food in the max is just horrible. It's just, you don't get the same commissary options neither as the guys in the media medium. Like, the guys in the medium, and it's like they keep taking things, they kept on taking things off the commissary as I was up there. Like, we used to be able to get oatmeal packets with the brown sugar, you know, the brown sugar pieces in them. And they took that off the commissary because, you know, guys was sifting out the brown sugar and making homebrew. You know, when they say we can't have nice things here, you can never have nice things in the max. Because, yeah, cough drops, guys started making liquor out of the cough drops, started sitting there from, like, fermenting the fucking cough drops and making white lightning and fucking, we lost those. It's like real restrictive up there. We don't really we get the bare minimum of basically what they're supposed to legally give us. They give us the bare minimum. You barely get 2,000 calories a day up there for your tray. So unless you make commissary, you're gonna be hungry at night. You're gonna have to drink the sink water from your cell to fill you up so you don't go to bed starving. I've had to do that a few times up there because they serve last meal. Now they serve before, and that's another thing too, because now there's no chow hall, they started doing the meals earlier, so now they do dinner at like 4 o'clock because we don't have to go anywhere. So they just bring the meal to the block. And so if you're not making commissary, your last meal is gonna be at 4 and you barely get 2,000 calories as it is. So your last meal's at 4, by nighttime, you're already starving again. So you got certain guys who be on the unit begging for soups because they be hungry. It's like homeless people on the streets, how they pull up to your car asking for change. You got people who pull up to your cell and beg you for soups. It's the same shit. So one of my first fights in the max was literally over the cell phone. I mean, not the cell phone, but literally over the prison phone. The phone up there, and the thing is, if you get into a beef over the phone, it's gonna be with your own people because the phones are structured. Like there's organization to the phone. All the phones up there are gang phones. And we had a thing after 5 p.m., basically neutrals can't use the phone. So neutrals had one phone that they could use, but after 5 p.m., neutrals can't use the phone at all. Only gang members can use the phone. That's that cutoff time, because that's when everybody's really trying to use the phone to call their girl, their family. Everybody usually, that's like high traffic volume for the phone in prison. Like any prison I've ever been to is like the late evening. That's when everybody gets on the phone. The late evening, 7, 8. That's when everybody calls their family and whatever. And I don't know why that is. Don't ask me why that is. But that's when everybody uses the phone in prison. Those are the high traffic times for the phone. Is between 5 to around 8 to 9 p.m. On K2, when I was there, this is just for when, you know, for my specific unit, neutrinos and neutrals, which is non-gang members, they couldn't use the phone after 5 p.m. So all the phones are reserved for specific gangs. So, you know, the Crips, La Familias. On my unit is Crips, La Familias had a phone, Gangsta Disciples, and yeah, that was pretty much it. So all the phones is reserved for gang members. All the phones, they got socks on them with either the socks would be wrapped around the phone and it would either have a pitchfork on it for GD or C for Crip or whatever gang is claiming the phone, it'll have it on the phone, so you already know whether or not you're supposed to be using that phone. So if you a civilian, I mean, I'm not a civilian, but a neutral, and you go and use one of the phones, you're not supposed to use the phone, then you're gonna get dealt with because it's clear, it's already, you already know that it's a taken phone. You feel what I'm saying? Because the socks stay on the phone 24/7. The COs don't even mess with that. Like the COs that do rounds, you could clearly see the socks wrapped around the phones with GD, pitchforks, all types of shit, C's, all types of shit on there. They already know what's going on, so they kind of the COs let convicts, they let us police ourselves. You feel what I'm saying? So they don't really disrupt like the prison politics. They kind of let them play out. They not really there for that. They kind of got a saying amongst themselves. They do their 8 skate, hit the gate. That's kind of like a CO saying. Like they basically trying to do their 8 hours and get the fuck out of here. We don't really want problems with y'all. So most of them say anyway. Some of them, AKA Souza and Baranowski, some of them, they try to do the most and go above and beyond and try to think that they real life cops in the prison system, and you see how that turns out. So daily routine, so first rec, wake up, the first thing I do, clean my cell. In prison, you do it with a rag, and you know, you clean your floor, wipe down your floor, wipe down your toilet, all of that. I usually start with a shot of coffee, you know, Keefy, all black, and then I start my pre-workout in my cell before the doors pop. It usually consists of me doing a deck. I I start doing the deck. Once the doors pop for rec, I go and work out on a tier. First rec's usually the shortest rec, usually about 45 minutes. So that's the rec right after breakfast. Because the day usually starts with breakfast. So how they do that, because there's no chow hall, they usually just pop, they come around with a food cart and they just pop your slot in your cell and they just put a tray for you. And if you have a celly, you and your celly, and then they just lock your slot back up. One of the things I actually like about the no chow hall thing, because I did enjoy the chow hall, but without the chow hall, you could actually save your meals. So I like to work out after my meals. So that's what I would save my trays until after I would work out. And then I would eat my trays, like my breakfast and my lunch tray, at the same time after I work out. First rec, I'm working out. Second rec, I'm working out again. Third rec, I shower, get on the phone. I might even squeeze an extra workout in there, depending. But usually I reserve third rec for shower and phone time, the nighttime rec, evening rec. Yeah, that's how I structured most of my bid when I wasn't in the box or on Supermax. But before I came home, I was mostly on the Supermax side. That was during COVID too, so they would kind of doing like 15 minutes a day rec. We had to make do with 15 minutes a day. So you had to do shower and phone in 15 minutes. So, and it was only 3 people at a time. They were doing 3 people rec. So you would be out with you and 2 other people in the whole tier. It was like stupid. It was dumb, but I was spending the majority of my time in my cell. So it's pretty routine, and like prison is pretty routine. It's never a dull day because, you know, the politics in prison is every day, especially in the max. It's constant. There's constant politics. There's constant something going on. You got to drop what you got going on to go and involve yourself in the politics, and it's dumb shit. So my days was fairly straightforward, fairly routine. You know, morning workout, afternoon workout, and then when I'm in my cell, majority of the time I'm reading. So I was fortunate enough, I had somebody on the streets, you know, shout out Bean, shout out Christina, she know who she is. She had me with subscriptions to ESPN, to the Wall Street Journal, to People's Magazine, to Men's Health. I was constantly getting mail every day. I was getting newsletters. I was informed of what was going on out there. So, you know, she got me subscribed to a whole bunch of different like newsletters and stuff like that. And I was getting a whole bunch I was never short on literature in there. That's one of the things that I appreciated. It definitely helped my years, you know, go along more efficiently, you could say. The majority of my years up there could basically be defined as working out and reading. That's how, to me, that's the most productive and effective way to pass your time. Now, does everybody do that? No, the majority of people, I think, spend their time doing what they would do on the streets, which is getting high, because drugs are rampant in the max, especially what they call Tunchi, it's K2. You know, guys would be over there comatose in their cell like this, fucking sitting on a toilet like this, sucking their own dick is what we call it. They be like this, up off of Tunchi, you know what I'm saying? Like off of Deuce, K2. Yep, so majority of guys spend their time up there getting high and gambling. It's not a real productive way to do your time, obviously, you feel what I'm saying? I've seen a lot of guys like lose their mind off of smoking fucking K2 for years. Like friends of mine, I seen them, they're not even there no more. Like people are smoking it like it's weed up there, but it's not nothing like weed. And I seen guys ep out, have episodes. It's crazy. It's like an epidemic in the prison system right now. The day in the life was basically working out, reading. So nighttime in the joint is kind of the most active. Nighttime is guys again on the phone, you know, motherfuckers is smoking dudes. That's when things tend to be the most active. You know, shit could go down at any time, but nighttime tends to be when shit really pop off. And if it's like really something that gotta be taken care of, like politically, say the white boys gotta clean up their own trash. Like they gotta take out a rapist or a snitch or something like that. What they'll do is it'll be known by morning, but they'll do it like right before lock-in at night. So it gives everybody time to take care of what they gotta take care of, whether it be putting in their commissary orders for the week, whether it be, you know, squaring away debts or doing shit they gotta do before. You get like a 24-hour notice before somebody's about to get taken out. So if the white boys say they had to take out one of their own, they would come to us and they'd be like, yo, we about to take this dude out. So we would know the whole day that they're gonna take him out. And usually all the agreed upon hits, the agreed upon time for a hit is the last rec, because you gotta give everybody their time. It's called prison etiquette. You give everybody their time to put in their orders for the weed, and you know, just do the shit they gotta do because we about to be locked in. We about to be locked down. So usually if a hit's gonna take place, it's gonna take place around that time, like 8, 9 o'clock, right before lock-in at 10. So nighttime, that's like the most active phase of the day. And you could tell, especially if somebody's about to get taken out. Somebody's about to get taken out because everybody's a little bit more active. Everybody's trying to run and take care of the shit they gotta take care of before we get locked in. You know, call their families, tell them you ain't about to hear from me for a while because we about to be locked in. Now that's like a form of snitching because guys used to do that so often. Call home and be like, yo, we about to be locked in. And you know, IPS listens to them phone calls. So after the shit will pop off, they come and interview you. If you said something on the phone, they come and do interview. They'd ask you like, yo, like you obviously know something about what was supposed to pop off. So they try to bleed you for information. You don't want to say too much specific on the phones because you know them people, they be listening. That's really the day in the life. The politics, yeah, everything politically that's gonna go down, it's gonna go down at night. The routine, really, prison is about maintaining a routine. You wanna make sure, at least me, you wanna make sure your bid is structured a certain way. And I kind of took that principle from prison with me to the street because it gave me a good perception, like a real good grasp on the value of time. And I took the way I structured my time in prison, because that's what prison's really about. You know, doing a bid productively is about how you structure your time. And I kind of applied the same principle on the streets, and that's what kind of allowed me to, you know, make the progress that I do. So that is one of the main things I'm kind of grateful for, you know, from prison. One of the main things one of the main skill sets you could say I acquired from prison is time management. I learned how to more effectively utilize my time, especially in the max when you have your recs are so limited, because you know you may only have 45 minutes to an hour for this rec. So you gotta kind of include everything you want to do in that hour and get it done effectively. So you got to be able to effectively use your time. Otherwise, the rec could pass and you ain't even complete the things you had to do. So that was kind of a skill set I had to master to be able to effectively navigate my bid in there and effectively navigate the prison system, was to utilizing my time effectively. You know, people like me, we not meant to get out and tell our story. It's a system designed for us to stay boxed in